Lamed Zayin Lamed Beis, 3 lines from the bottom of the page. We're up to the last word, Amar. So, Amar Rav Asi says, Isa shel Ma'aser Sheni, the dough of Ma'aser Sheni. So Ma'aser Sheni needs to be eaten in Yerushalayim. So if you have dough of Ma'aser Sheni, the Divrei Rameir Patur min Chala. This dough, you do not need to take off Chala from the Ma'aser Sheni dough. And Rashi explains, because by Chala has to be Arisai Seichem, it needs to belong to you. And according to Rameir, the Ma'aser Sheni does not belong to the private individual. It actually belongs to Hashem. And Hashem gives us the permission to eat this Ma'aser Sheni in Yerushalayim. So since it belongs to Hashem, there is no obligation to separate Chala from it. But the Divrei Chachamim, according to the Chachamim, Chayeves b'Chala. Chachamim hold you are obligated to take Chala from this dough. And the reasoning is because Chachamim hold the Ma'aser Sheni belongs to the individual farmer who brings the dough, who brings that wheat to Yerushalayim, and therefore will be obligated to take Chala off of it. Matzah is shel Ma'aser Sheni. What about making matzah out of Ma'aser Sheni? So the Divrei Rameir, ein adam yotzi b'yidei chavas b'Pesach. According to Rameir, you will not fulfill your obligation with these matzahs on the first night of Pesach. You cannot use the Ma'aser of Ma'aser Sheni. And the Gemara is going to discuss what the reasoning is. But the Divrei Chachamim, yotzi b'yidei chavas b'Pesach. You will fulfill your obligation. You are allowed to use matzahs of Ma'aser Sheni. Asrig shel Ma'aser Sheni. Let's say taking an asrig, which comes from the Ma'aser Sheni stock. So the Divrei Rameir in Yotzi b'yidei chavasai b'yamtiv. According to Rameir, you will not fulfill your obligation on Yamtiv with this asrig. But the Divrei Chachamim, Adam Yotzi b'yidei chavasai b'yamtiv. A person will fulfill his obligation. And again, the reasoning of all this is because Rameir holds that the Ma'aser Sheni belongs to Hashem, and you're not allowed to use Hashem's produce to for these obligations. But according to the Chachamim, the Ma'aser Sheni belongs to the private individual, and one is able to use, will be obligated or able to use this produce for his obligations that he has. Now we're going to be discussing the reasoning and the sources behind all these halachas. So Maskil Rav Papa. Rav Papa asks this question. Bishleima Isa, it makes sense that Isa is pater from, according to Rameir, that Isa is pater, the dough is pater from Ma'aser Sheni. Tichsiv Arisai Seichem. It says your dough, Mishalacham, which means it needs to belong to you. Therefore, according to Rameir, that the Ma'aser Sheni does not belong to the individual, there would be no obligation to for Challah to be taken. Asrig Nami also regards to Asrig, Dichsiv L'kachta Lacham, Lacham Mishalacham Yeh. It says in the pasuk, you should take for yourself on the first day the Priyei Tadar. You should take for yourself an Asrig on the first day of Sukkot, which tells us L'kachta Lachem. You should take it for yourself. It needs to belong to you. And Ma'aser Sheni, according to Rameir, does not belong to you. Alamata miksiv matzah seisechem. Does it say in the pasuk anywhere your matzah? It doesn't say matzah, your matzah. So you should be able to bring. You should be able to fulfill your obligation with matzah of Ma'aser Sheni. So Amar Rava, so Rava answers, Isay Rabbi Yamar Bashlamya, others say it was Rabbi Yamar. Asya lechem lechem, we have a gzer shava. Ksiv hacha lechem oin, it says by matzos, a poor man's bread. Ksiv hasam, and it says over there by chala, v'hayu ba'achalchem, melechem ha'aretz, when you will eat from the bread of the earth. So ma'lahala mishalachem, so just like by chala, the dough needs to belong to you. Afkan mishalachem. Excuse me. Also by matzah, it needs to belong to you. So lema misayeh. So let's bring a proof for Rav Asi that the dough of Ma'aser Sheni is machlokes Rameir and the Chachamim. It says Isa shel Ma'aser Sheni. Dough of Ma'aser Sheni, Patur min Chala. The dough of Ma'aser Sheni is patur from Chala, Divrei Rameir. V'chachamim oimrim chayeves. While the Chachamim say the dough of Ma'aser Sheni is chayev and Chala. So this is a clear proof that Rav Asi says that the dough of Ma'aser Sheni, if it's obligated in Chala, is machlokes Rameir Chachamim. We have a brisa that says the same thing. So Gemara asks, Lema misayeya, painav hach. What do you mean? It's just like a let's say it should help. Let's say this is the exact statement the Rav Asi said. This isn't just maybe it's helping. This is for sure helping. This is a clear source. So Hachi Kamer. So the Gemara explains this is what we meant to say. Lema mit the pligi bi isa v'hanach na mit pligi. Let us say that since we have a clear proof that Rameir and the Chachamim argue regarding the dough, they should also be arguing regarding to the other two items of the matzos and also the asrik. Or dilma, or maybe shani hasam dechsiv arisay sechem trezini. Or maybe challah is different. Challah, it says in the pasuk twice arisay sechem, which be telling us that specifically challah it has to belong to you. But regarding to asrig, it only says it once. So l'kachtam lachem, you should take for yourself. And why does it say l'kachtam lachem? So Rashi tells us l'kachtam lachem is teaching us it can't be a borrowed asrig, and you can't use a stolen asrig. So it only says it once. So we don't have a source that Meiser Sheni wouldn't work. So that's what the Gemara is saying. Maybe this will be a proof that since by challah we know it's machlekes, maybe the other two items would also be a machlekes. But the truth is, the Meforshim say, what about? They say that the dough of matzos Meiser Sheni, it's not a question either. We know for sure there's a machlekes. Because since it's a Gzer Shava, whatever Rameir would hold regarding to the Chala, he would also hold regarding to Meiser Sheni. So the real only question is regarding Esrik. Esrik, there's only one pasuk l'kachtan, so therefore we have the question: is it only by Esrik? Is it only by Chala? And Esrik, maybe it would not. You would not fulfill your obligation. You would be able to fulfill your obligation. So Reb Shimon Lakish. So Reb Shimon Lakish has a question. Could a person fulfill his obligation with chala of Meiser Sheni? Meaning, could you have chala of Meiser Sheni in Yerushalayim? So Aliva Rabbi Yisrael Galili like Tibaylach. He says, according to Rabbi Yisrael.
Is this the Kohen or anybody?
Well, to be able to give it to a Kohen, because it's chala. So chala of the Meiser Sheni, be able to give it to a Chaim. So he says, Hashta b'chulin loy nafik. So he says, leave it to Rabbi Yisrael Gli leiti balach. Rabbi Yisrael Gli, this wouldn't be a question, because Hashta b'chulin loy nafik b'chalasai mibayim. He says, regarding chulin, we already said earlier, you're not allowed to use the matzis. We will not be able to use the matzis of Meiser Sheni for Pesach, because we explained earlier, according to Rabbi Yisrael Glili, it says in the pasuk lechem oini. It has to be a poor man's bread, and we say it means an expression of like sorrow. While Meiser Sheni needs to be eaten b'simcha, needs to be eaten with joy. So you can't use Meiser Sheni for a poor man's bread. So according to Rabbi Yisrael Glili, you can't even use regular Meiser Sheni. So for sure a kohen wouldn't be able to use the challah of Meiser Sheni. This question goes according to Rabbi Kiva, because Rabbi Kiva holds that you are able to use Meiser Sheni for matzahs. So is it b'chulin hu dinafik? Does he only say that you're able to use chulin? That you're able to use because the background information is. We need to be able to eat the matzah in all of your moishas. The matzah needs to be something that's able to be eaten any place in Eretz Yisrael, any place that you are. So the problem with Meiser Sheni is Meiser Sheni could only be eaten in Yerushalayim. So the question is, could you use Meiser Sheni? So Rabbi Kiva says you are allowed to use Meiser Sheni, because if the Meiser Sheni becomes tamei, you're able to redeem it, and then you're able to eat it anywhere in Eretz Yisrael. You can eat it anywhere. So therefore, it potentially has that ability to be able to be eaten anywhere. So since the Meiser Sheni could theoretically be eaten anywhere, therefore you're able to use the Meiser Sheni for matzahs. So does Rabbi Akiva only say that regarding to regular chulin? Because if it becomes tamei, you're able to redeem it and eat it in any place that you live. But regard to challah, if the challah becomes tamei, you're not allowed to eat it anymore. You have to burn it. So loy nafik. So therefore, you shouldn't be able to fulfill your obligations. Because again, the whole reason Meiser Sheni is mutter is because if it becomes tamei, you can eat it anywhere. But if the challah, which is Meiser Sheni, becomes tamei, you're not allowed to eat it in any of your dwellings. You have to burn it. So even if it's tahar, even if the challah is now pure and it's Meiser Sheni, a kohen shouldn't be able to fill his obligation with it, even if he's in Yerushalayim. Or maybe we should say like this: if since this is like idea of since, but we look at the possibilities. Since the person, we're going to say, didn't need to make this Ma'aser Sheni into challah. He didn't need to make this Ma'aser Sheni into challah. He didn't need to make it into matzah. So since the person didn't need to make this Ma'aser Sheni into challah, therefore we should, in a sense, separate between the two items. There's a problem of Ma'aser Sheni, and there's a problem of challah. So Ma'aser Sheni by itself doesn't have a problem according to Rabbi Kiva because you're able to theoretically eat it anywhere if it becomes tamei. Challah is also able to be used by kohen for matzah, as we said in the Mishnah. So each one by itself is really okay. So now that they're together, that shouldn't be a problem because we should look at them as if they're separate, as if you never called the Ma'aser Sheni challah. Each one of the individual problems by itself doesn't have a problem. So when you put it together, it shouldn't have a problem either. All right, that's what he says. Since if you wouldn't have called it by the name challah, Itma would have become Tami Islay Hatimaishis. It wouldn't have been a problem because you're able to eat it wherever in all your dwellings. V'nafik, and you would have fulfilled your obligation. Hashdanami nafik. So now also you should be able to fill your obligation. Because even though now when the Ma'aser Sheni is challah, and you wouldn't be able to redeem it, because the only time you could redeem it was when it's tamei, and if you redeemed it, you'd have to burn it. But since potentially each one separately, it wouldn't have had that issue, now that it's together, that shouldn't be a problem either. So these are the two sides of the question. So Ikadami, so others say, he says that's for sure not an issue. He says for sure we say hayal, meaning is you could separate between both of those issues, and you're allowed to be yoytz your obligation with challah, which is Ma'aser Sheni. He says this is the real question. Challah halakuach b'kasav Ma'aser Sheni. When you have challah, which is bought with money of Ma'aser Sheni, the rule is that if a person has a lot of Ma'aser Sheni produce, he doesn't need to bring up all the produce to Yerushalayim. What he's able to do is he's able to sell the produce and take the money and to Yerushalayim, and he adds a fifth extra money, and he's able to buy new produce there. But there's the machlokes how much kedusha this money has. According to one opinion, when you buy new fruits with this money, it has exactly the same kedusha of the fruit as the original fruit that were initially Ma'aser Sheni. The second opinion is the fruits that are bought with money of Ma'aser Sheni has a lower degree of kedusha. It's not as much Ma'aser Sheni as the original, and therefore, if it becomes tamei, you're not able to redeem it because you're not able to make it like a third level Ma'aser Sheni. It doesn't have that ability to be redeemed and transfer kedusha again to money, because it's already only a third degree Ma'aser Sheni. So he says this is the question. He says Aliba de Rabbanan like Tibalach. According to Rabbanan, there is no question. Kevin Dama Yipada Hainu Ma'aser. He says the Rabbanan hold you could redeem the new Ma'aser Sheni fruits if they became tamei, and you could redeem it another time, even though it was bought with Ma'aser Sheni. So since you're able to redeem it, it would have the same halacha as the previous case, which we said you're able to use it for matzahs. He says, the question is according to Rabbi Yehuda. The Omar you cover. Rabbi Kiva says you have to bury it. He says if the Ma'aser Sheni, which was bought with money of Ma'aser Sheni, has to be buried if it becomes tamei. That if you buy Ma'aser Sheni with the money of Ma'aser Sheni, and then it becomes tamei, the first opinion is the Chaim say you're able to redeem it. Rabbi Yehuda Amar Yekaver. Rabbi Yehuda says you need to bury it. So this is a question. The question is like this: could you say two times this hayal? Could you say it again, the original hayal that you never needed to call the Ma'aser Sheni challah, and the second hayal would be is you didn't need to buy it with you didn't need to buy Ma'aser Sheni. You could have used the original Ma'aser Sheni. Yeah, you didn't need to sell the Ma'aser Sheni and then use the money to buy new produce. Theoretically, you could have used the original Ma'aser Sheni to make the matzahs out of. And Rashi explains this is the vart. He says you always have to go after the original Ma'aser Sheni. He says the original Ma'aser Sheni is the most powerful and most strictest, in a sense, Ma'aser Sheni. Anything which comes after it, the next grades are less lenient, because it's already a second grade Ma'aser Sheni, a third degree, so it has less kedusha in the second or third degree of Ma'aser Sheni. So if we hold that the original Ma'aser Sheni could be used for matzah, then for sure the lower degrees of Ma'aser Sheni could be able to be used for matzah. So he says that's what we're saying. Could you say these two hayals? Because if you say both hayals, then you're able to use it for matzah. Do we say Hayal number one, Iloila Kuach? If it wasn't bought and you used the original Ma'aser Sheni, it would have been able to be worked. We would have been able to use it for matzahs. And again, if the original Ma'aser Sheni can be used for matzah, so for sure the lower degrees of Ma'aser Sheni can be used for matzah. And a second Hayal, like call Hashem. And also, you didn't need to call it a name of Challah. And since if you wouldn't have called it the name of Challah, you could have just used the original, the Ma'aser Sheni itself. There's no problem with using Ma'aser Sheni for matzah, and there's also no problem using challah for matzah. So even though now they're together, that shouldn't be a problem. Itman, it would have been kemtame. Yeshlai hatter b'maishas would have been had a heter in all your dwellings, so nafik bay, and you would have fulfilled your obligation. Hashda nami nafik bay. So also now you should be able to fulfill your obligation. So having two oils shouldn't be a problem, and should be able to yotz your obligation of matzah. Maybe we can only say one oil. You can't say two oils, like two potentials. So Rava wants to say is we would say two hayals. He says because once you have the rule that by meiser we're able to meiser itself you fulfill your obligation, we don't care if it's a second degree or third degree of meiser. And similarly by challah, if the original challah could be used, also now even though that this is challah which is meiser sheni, it could also fulfill your obligation. So according to Rava, the answer is yes. You're able to use meiser produce which was bought with Ma'aser Sheni, which is made into challah, you're able to fulfill your obligation of matzah with it. Okay, new piece. The Mishnah says challah is toy the Rivke nazar, that the challah of a Thanksgiving offering and the crackers, the wafers of a nazar, if you made it to sell it for yourself, for your own nazar or your own korban taida, then you're not able to use it for matzah of Pesach. But if you're a manufacturer and you made these wafers and these chalas to be sold in the market, the Mishnah said then you could fulfill your obligation of matzah with it. So the question the Gemara asks is, Menahani mili. From where do we know this from? Where do we know that the chalas that you made for yourself, for your korban, would not be good to be used for Pesach? So Amar Rabbi. So Rabbi explains the Amar Kra Ushmarta Mesamatzis. The pasuk says you have to guard the matzahs, which tells us matzah mishtamer l'shem matzah, that matzah which is guarded l'shem matzah, you can fulfill your obligation. This would exclude the matzahs which are made for the karbanis, which weren't guarded, which weren't made with the intention of using it for Pesach. This is the idea of l'shma. So Rabbi is basically telling us that the matzahs need to be made l'shma and they need to be guarded l'shma to be used for matzah of Pesach. But over here, when a person makes it for his own personal use, for his korban, the reason why you were making it was not for Pesach, it was to be made for the korban, and therefore would not be good for the mitzvah of matzah. Rav Yosef Amar, the pasuk says like this. It says, "Shivas yama matzahs techelu." You need to eat matzahs for 7 days, which means matzah nachal shivas yamim. When a person makes the challah, he needs to have intention. Again, it's the same idea of the shema. So it's based somewhat on Rabbah that the matzahs need to be shmart. You need to guard the matzahs; they need to be laid in the shema. But Rabbi Yosef adds an additional point that the matzahs themselves, you need to have kavanah when you're making it that these are matzahs that are eaten for 7 days. But this person doesn't have kavanah to make it for 7 days because he's planning on using it for his korban. And for the korban toida and the nazar, you only have 1 day and 1 night, so it's not for 7 days. So this excludes the nazar and the toida, which is not for 7 days eaten, but only 1 day and 1 night. What's the nafkamina between the two opinions? So the Mefarshim say the nafkamina would be is if you had in mind both for a say I want to use it maybe for my korban toida or nazar, and also for my matzah, and I'll decide later which one I want. According to Rabbah, as long as you have the shema that it's for the matzah of Pesach, you would fulfill your obligation. But according to Rabbi Yosef, it wouldn't work, because Yosef, you also need to have in mind how many days it's going to be for. So you can't have in mind 7 days or a day and a half. You need to have, it's either 7 days you have in mind or you have a day and a half in mind. So according to Rabbi Yosef, that wouldn't work. It needs to be either or. Okay, so Tanya Kavasa de Rabba, but Tanya Kavasa Rabbi Yosef. We have a proof, Brisa like Rabba and a Brisa like Rabbi Yosef. Tanya Kavasa de Rabba, the Brisa like Rabba is Yachol Yatzi de Chavasa b'chalas toida kitei nazar. Is it possible a person can fulfill his obligation with the chalas of the toida and the wafers of the nazar? Talmud Leimer, it says in the pasuk, "Ushmartem es matzos." You need to guard the matzahs. Matzah, mishtamer s'shem matzah, matzah which is guarded for the name, for the sake of matzah, you fulfill your obligation. This would exclude the matzah which one has in mind for the carbon zavach, which he does not have the proper intention. Tana kavas to the Rabbi Yosef. We have a brayse like Rabbi Yosef. Yochel yotzei alam yedi chavasas b'chalas toida over tzkik nazar. It's possible a person can fulfill his obligation on Pesach with the chalas of the toida and the rekikim of the nazar. Time and loimer shivas yamim matzas techel. 7 days you need to eat the matzahs, which tells us matzah and the chalas of shivas yamim. The matzah which is eaten for 7 days. That's the intention you need to have. This would exclude the matzah of the toida and the nazar, which is only for 1 day and a night. Okay, now the Gemara is going to continue and try to give different sources where we could be able to infer that the matzah which is made for the kabbanis would not work for Pesach. Meaning the Gemara is going to say is why do you need to have these psukim that are telling us that the matzah which is made for the kabbanis are not good. We can exclude these matzahs which are made for the kabbanis from different psukim. Typically, the Gemara says, let's learn out that the matzah would not work, you would not fulfill your obligation, because it says Menachem oini. It says in the pasuk, a poor man's bread. Misha nachal ba'aninus. Yotzozesh ini nachal ba'aninus. The bread needs to be a bread of affliction, but the matzahs which are made for the kabbanis are with simcha, are with joy. So it should not. So it wouldn't work. How do we know it needs to be with joy? So Rashi tells us if meiser sheni, meiser which is more lenient than a carbon needs to be eaten with joy, then for sure the chalas of a korban which is much more halik for sure would need to be eaten b'simcha. So Savalak Rabbi Kiva. So the more answers because Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef hold like Rabbi Kiva. Damar ani ksif. It says in the pasuk ani. So it doesn't need to be a bread of affliction. It needs to be a poor man's bread, which tells us it can't be kneaded with honey and with wine. With tepik have matzah shira. So the Gemara says, yeah, but still, you wouldn't be able to use the wafers of the toida or of the chalas of the toida because there's oil inside of the breads. So if there's oil, you would not be able to use it for matzah of Pesach. So Amr Shmuel Bar Yitzchak Shmuel answers, Revius he mischachalakas he lekama chalas. He explains that the amount of oil they used for these for the kabbanis was very little. He says it was basically, Rashi explains, there was a revius ahin which was divided between 20 chalas. So each challah itself had such a minuscule amount, it would not be considered rich man's bread. It's too much of a minute amount of oil to be considered matzah shira. So the Gemara has another source. But typically, the einin nachals b'chol maishus. But still, the kabbanis, the chalas, will not be able to be eaten in all of your maishus. One of the rules of matzah is it needs to be eaten wherever Yidden live. If it's the chalas of the toida or the nazir, it can only be eaten in the city of Yerushalayim. So it shouldn't work anyway. So Amar Reish Lakish, Rashi explains Zoy Samaris chalas toidus rikiki nazir nechal b'noy v'givay. That the chalas of the toida and the rikiki nazir can be eaten in the cities of Noi v'Givain. It's a little background history. Yes, exactly. In the Mishkan of Noi v'Givain, the Mishkan had a series of places where it was built. After it was destroyed, it was in Shilai for many years, and after it was destroyed in Shilai, it was transferred first to the city of Noiv, and then when Noiv was destroyed, when Shaul killed all the Kainim, it was transferred to Givain. So the rule is that you're not allowed to have any of your own private altars when the Beis Hamikdash was built, and also when the Mishkan of Shilai was built, because those are considered somewhat permanent. They're like permanent structures. You were not allowed to have your own private altar. But when the Shilai was destroyed, you were allowed to have your private altars while the Arna Kodesh and the Mizbeach was in Noi v'Givain. So people were allowed to sacrifice their own kabbanis, certain kabbanis at least, inside of their own in their own private on their own private altars. So the Gemara is telling us that if we would have just had the we would have thought that when there was the periods of in our history where it was permitted to have your own bama, then we wouldn't have had a source to tell us that the chalas of the toida and the rikik nazar would have been aser. Because if I was living in the time of Novi given, I would have brought my carbon toida, let's say, and I would have brought the chalas with the chalas with my toida, and it was right before Pesach. I would have gone back to my home, say in Be'er Shava, and I would have taken my chalas with me because I'm allowed to eat the chalas anywhere in Eretz Yisrael. So I would have taken the chalas with me, and I would have thought that it was okay. So therefore, we have the other pasuk which tells us what Rav Yosef and Rabbi brought up needs to be made l'shem matzah. Therefore, we need the additional psukim of Rav Yosef that even during the periods where the chalas of the nazir and the toida could have been eaten anywhere, that even then you wouldn't have been able to allow to use it because it wasn't made l'shma for Pesach. Fine. Tanya. Omer Rabbi Aryai says, "Sha'altis Rabbi Eliezer." I asked Rabbi Eliezer, "Ma'u shiyatza adam machalas toidu kitza nazar." What is the halacha? Could a person fulfill his obligation of matzah on Pesach with the chalas of the toidu and the rikik nazar? So Amarli, so he tells me, "Lo shemati." I never heard. I don't have a teaching about this. Then I came and asked Rabbi Yeshua. So Amarli, so he told me like this. Hari Amru, they have said, Chalas Taida Rikik Nazar Sh'aslam Atmai Ein Adam Yotzi V'hem. If you made the toida, the chalas and the rikikim for yourself, you do not fulfill your obligation. But if you made them to sell in the market, you will fulfill your obligation. When I came and I told these words in front of Rabbi Eliezer, Amrli Bris, I swear, and this is mamish what was told to Moshe Rabbeinu on Sinai. This is 100% correct. Another version is, Bris, I swear, these are the words that were said Moshe Rabbeinu by Sinai. But doesn't it still need a reason? So the time of my, what is the reasoning? So Amar Rabba, so Rabba explains, Kol Ashuk Imnuchim Mimlach. When a person wants to sell the produce, when he's taking it to sell in the market, a person always has in his mind that if I can sell it, I'll sell it. But if I can't, I'll just keep it for myself, for my own obligation of matzahs of Pesach. So since a person, when he's selling it, he has that in mind, he's able to use it also for matzah. He says, if I sell it, I sell it. If I don't sell it, I'll fulfill my own obligation. Therefore, when a person makes the matzah initially for the market, he has in mind both for the he has both in mind for the karbanis, or if he can't sell it, he has in mind for the matzah. Therefore, fulfill his obligation. Just the Mefarshim asks that this works well with Rabba, that says that you can have in mind both for the matzahs of Pesach and also for the karbanis. But according to Rabbi Yosef, it wouldn't work because you need to have in mind for 7 days, and you also have to, and at the same time it's for one day and one night. These are contradictory karbanis. It wouldn't go together. So the Mefarshim want to say, and we know we have such a rule which is called breira. Breira means is like you can decide later what you had initially in mind, but you don't hold of breira by dinei d'oraisa. Dinim that come from a Torah, you don't have breira. You only have breira b'derabbanan. And matzah, of course, and kabbanis are dinim of min Torah. So they want to say is that even by dinim of Torah, it depends if it's something which is called a shav al tasa. Shav al tasa means that you sit and don't. You're inactive. You're very passive. With dinei Torah, which are passive rules where you don't need to do anything, then you are able to do breira. You are able to, in a sense, choose later. So regarding these matzahs that you made, you're not actually doing anything later. You're saying, if I sell it, then it's toidus. If I don't, it's going to be matzah. So he's actually being inactive. He's not doing anything. He's saying, if nothing happens, then it will automatically just be matzahs for Pesach. And that's what happens. If you can't sell it, then automatically the matzahs for Pesach, therefore, before you want to say, a shav al tasa. When he's inactive, meaning is when the breira is made, because he doesn't do anything, then even then you are able to have that type of kavanah, and you could say breira. Go ahead.